All right, next we have from graduate school to Capitol Hill, Knauss Fellowship with Rachel Wang.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rachel Wang. I am the Canals Fellow who works in NOAA Aquaculture office right now. I graduated from University of Georgia last May. I studied the inorganic carbon exchange on salt marsh estuaries, and I started this aquaculture fellowship in this February. So I'm quite new to aquaculture, but for the past 4 months, I've been learning so much about aquaculture. Even this morning, I heard so many talks. That makes me really think there's so many potentials and opportunities in the U.S. aquaculture. So how can I be part of it? So I basically started this project out of my own benefits and interest. I want to look through some pathways for graduate students to transition from school to aquaculture workforce under the umbrella of Knauss Fellowship. So before I go to the next slide, I want to, by show of hands, how many of you guys are graduate students or consider yourself as early career young professionals? Okay. Okay, so we have two and Mike. How many of you guys think yourself as mid-career? You've done such and such, but still there's a way. So I see a few more hands. Okay, how many of you guys are looking forward to retirement? So obviously, yeah, we have a lot more people who are going to retire. So that's the problem for aquaculture industry right now is an aging workforce. So the average of U.S. aquaculture extension educator now is in his or her 60s or 70s. So when they're transitioning out of the professional life, we need the new generations of aquaculture professionals to replace these baby boomers. However, our education did not really catch up. So let's see. So the majority of the aquaculture programs were initiated in 1970s, and there were not that many for the past 2 decades. And after 2010, the initiation basically has stopped. From 2000 to 2015, the master students in aquaculture has steadily increased. That was a good news. And PhD students, well, increased a little bit, and undergrads has decreased. So that gives you a decreased number of total aquaculture students. And I thought was interesting to point out is about a quarter of the master students in aquaculture and almost half of them, the PhD students, are actually international students. So that means the U.S. has been training international students to advance the aquaculture maybe in other countries. So we have this issue, which is an aging workforce plus fewer education opportunities for younger generation, particularly the domestic students. And that's not a good sign for any industry, including aquaculture. Do I have the solution? No. But with today's talk, I want to stimulate more discussion between the extension agencies and young graduate students to see what can we do differently to actually enhance the workforce development, and under the umbrella of Knauss Fellowship as a good example. So the Knauss Fellowship is named after Dean Knauss, who is a previous NOAA administrator and an oceanographer. Since 1979, there are over 1,000 fellows coming from 33 state sea grant programs. The goal is to offer direct experience to graduate students working in the executive or legislative branches on the government on issues on coastal management, fisheries, and aquaculture. So for 2017, in my class, we have 62 fellows. 50 of them are executive fellows. I'm one of them. And we have 12 legislative fellows. It's a paid fellowship with salaries and professional development funding. And I also heard next year they're going to bump up this funding. So that's, well, or get zeroed out. But it's a great chance to get exposed to the government and learn how the government runs. And also, it's a good opportunity for network. And that's a picture of us meet the new political appointee, Department of Commerce Secretary Ross. I was hiding behind him there. Yeah, so there are some of these positions are solely on aquaculture, like my current position, and some of them not. But a lot of fellows have aquaculture in their portfolio, even though they're working on fishery or ecosystem issues. And we also have ledge fellows, as aquaculture is a very heating topic on the Hill, so we have ledge fellows here, actually working on aquaculture legislation. So you can think Knauss Fellowship as a pipeline to transition graduate students to the aquaculture workforce. So the office I work in, NOAA Aquaculture Office, we focus on regulatory and policy side of the aquaculture, particular on streamlining permitting process on the offshore aquaculture, and we support science for aquaculture management. We basically work on the overlap area of research, management, policies, and outreach. So as an aquaculture fellow, what did I do? I've been involved in a few projects since the beginning of my fellowship, such as the NOAA-funded aquaculture project assessment, and I've been helping developing story maps, interactive online communication tools to communicate science to the lay audience, and have tracking engagement plan. And 2 weeks ago, I has the chance to facilitate the Sea Grant Aquaculture Initiative review panels, and it's a very educational opportunity to learn how people run the panels, how people decide which get funded, which don't. That was great. And there are some other jobs I did. Organize the NOAA Aquaculture webinars. A few of you guys might heard me. I think it was last Thursday. Yeah, that was me. So what have I learned? First, I got this great exposure to all the aquaculture issues on a national and regional level, and I also get involved in using science to inform policy making, which actually makes me cherish science even more. Because you can see that direct impact that the science has. And also I was fortunate to work closely with the aquaculture folks, especially those without a science background. I feel a lot of those times that I can learn the most out of it. So that was my story. Was that representative enough? Is that a good sample size? I guess one sample, that's not really good. So I interviewed 8 other previous fellows. I enlarged my sample size by 8-fold by talking these previous fellows. How did I know them? I just emailed them. Actually, David, who is the deputy director in our office, who's my boss, and Kola, who's right there, who's the deputy director of National Sea Grant, and Jean, who is also here, Robert, April, Mikwash, Mary, Karen. So I emailed them, asked them to interview with me, and then I buy them coffee. So I invited these people to talk to me about their experience. I asked them about 25 questions on their Canals Fellowship experience, aquaculture career path, and their opinions on aquaculture and extension to see if there's any gaps that they can help identify. For today's talk, I'm going to focus on 3 aspects, which is what is their motivation, what are some events that get these young, when they were young, how did they get hooked onto aquaculture, and what are some skill set that they think is necessary for the students to transition from school to the aquaculture workforce, and hopefully shed some light to the aquaculture extension agencies. So when I ask them about motivations, they always come with stories, such as I worked as a Peace Corps volunteer in West Africa, or I was working as a wild fishery observer and find out all these nasty things. I decided to move to aquaculture. I found one thing that's in common out of all these different stories is that they all happens in the field when they have direct interactions with the stakeholders, when they can see how their work make a difference. So I think that sends out a strong message to our extension agencies is get your students into the field, create opportunities for them to talk to the stakeholders. If a student study a type of virus of a fish disease, make them talk to the people or the farmers who lost income because of that, so they can realize how important their work is. And if you still have a hard time, just offer some free seafood. I'm pretty sure they're going to be there. And also, it'll be really nice to connect these students to build a cohort support, like the Sea Grant Fellows. Even though we all work for different offices, but we are all connected and also help each other and being friends with each other or becoming friends, I guess. So I think that network is really, really important. And also enrich is also as important as outreach. What does enrich really mean? Actually, I made up that word. It means before you go outreach to your stakeholders, make sure to talk to the people in your office, do internal communication. A lot of times, aquaculture extension does not exist by itself. It's one part of a bigger organization. Make sure you talk to the fishery extension. Make sure you talk to the ecosystem extensions. Make sure everyone is on the same level of the message on aquaculture, so sometimes they can actually be your free labor to communicate aquaculture to the audience that you can't really reach to. And I think that is very, very important. So some suggestions from the previous fellows to the incoming students is, first of all, get into the field, get out of your research bubble, talk to your stakeholders, put your research into a bigger context, and learn why this is important, and be able to send this message to people without a science background. And another thing is network, because this fellowship doesn't really guarantee employment. So since the start of my fellowship, I just keep hearing about this. Work on your network. Go out and meet people. Some people get that naturally, but some part of me, I just feel like I just hate that. Like, why do I have to go to approach to someone and talk about myself? Sometimes you kind of feel like I'm bragging about myself, but I think there's a way to do it naturally and genuinely. I guess one good strategy is to really show your passion about your work and really listen to other people's opinions and stories and ask questions. I think there's a way that we can do network genuinely and naturally. And the last is communication. When I was a graduate student, I thought if I have the best science, I have the best data, and I keep explaining it over and over again, how can you not understand me? How can you not believe in science? So I realized that's not how it works, and that's also when the extension coming in is that mutual communication. Because what you thought you were doing is just one-way communication. You're telling people what to do, you're telling people what to understand, but actually you will get resist. So I guess the message is really to listen to people's need and help them and learn from them and solve the problem together. And I can't stress more on that. So at last, I want to thank everyone who drank my coffee and spent time telling me your story and your experience. I really learned a lot. And I want to thank Sam, helped me put up the presentation and draft the questions. And at last, I would encourage graduate students or if you're a professor, your students to apply for this fellowship. And if you need an apartment in DC, let me know. I can sublease my apartment to you, I guess. Yeah, thank you. Any questions?
Quick question for Rachel. Good job. Okay.
How important do you think a background or some significant exposure to agriculture is for people?
I think it's important, but I don't think anyone is trained to be an extension agent. Something I learned from talking to a previous fellow. Usually people coming from a research background or industry, and then they were put into that position and become an extension agent. I think it's important, but I think the attitude the willingness to really learn about new things is even more important.